Arya let out a low groan and licked her lips. They were bruised, and a little blood had begun to appear. Her lipstick was smudged, her hair completely disheveled. In that state, to Rudraksh, she looked even more tempting. "Sweetheart," he said softly, "I'll teach you the real lesson on our honeymoon. For now, go and sleep. Or should I do something more before that?" As he spoke, his gaze settled on Arya's chest. Seeing this, Arya hurriedly covered herself with her hands. The very next moment, she was pushed onto the bed. Seeing her fear and his own speed, a faint smile appeared on Rudraksh's lips, which he quickly concealed. The next day, Arya stood beside Rudraksh, trembling with fear. All the family members were present in front of them. The grandmother spoke cheerfully. "Now go, both of you, and come back soon with good news of making me a grandmother." Arya's mother-in-law stepped forward to hug her, but when Arya met her eyes, she fell silent. Arya thought to herself that for the first time she was remembering the strict grandmother as if she were Hitler. If she were here today, she would have to face this devil again, who never lets her go. "Let's go," Rudraksh said coldly. Both of them sat in the car, and the driver drove off. After some time, they reached the airport. Arya was stunned to see the Singhania family's personal jet standing there. She had never even imagined she would travel in something so luxurious. "Is this our honeymoon?" Arya asked hesitantly. "Believe it or not, sweetheart," Rudraksh replied, and moved ahead. Arya followed him, and soon both were seated inside the jet. Arya looked around excitedly at everything, while Rudraksh's eyes stayed on her. When the jet took off, Arya got scared and shut her eyes. "Is this your first flight?" Rudraksh asked. Arya nodded yes. Rudraksh returned to his laptop, while Arya looked outside the window, occasionally glancing at him. After some time, her head slowly rested on his shoulder. When he looked, Arya was asleep. He brushed her hair aside and murmured, "Sleep as much as you want, sweetheart. You'll need all your energy later." His breath brushed her ear, making her stir slightly before falling asleep again. A few hours later, Arya opened her eyes and found herself in a car. Rudraksh sat beside her, busy with work. Looking at the tall buildings outside, she realized they had reached Australia. She stepped out excitedly, admiring the view. After a while, they arrived at a small yet beautiful house, which would be their stay for the week. As they got down, a butler greeted them. Arya stared at the place in awe. There was a swimming pool outside and greenery all around. As soon as they entered, Rudraksha pulled Arya close and said quietly, "Get ready for your next lesson, sweetheart." Hearing this, Arya felt fear rise within her. They entered their room. Holding her close again, Rudraksha repeated, "Prepare yourself." Arya pushed him away and said, "I don't want to learn anything. I'm tired." The moment she did that, she realized her mistake. Rudraksha's expression changed instantly. "Oh, you're tired," he said coldly. "I'm tired too. I want to sleep. But I always bathe before sleeping. It's a habit. Since I'm exhausted, I don't feel like moving my hands, so why don't you bathe me today?" Arya stared at him in shock. "What are you saying?" she whispered. "As my wife, serving your husband is your duty," Rudraksha replied firmly. "Do as I say, or I'll bathe you myself." Arya didn't want to, but fear kept her silent. Holding her hand, Rudraksha took her to the bathroom. Biting her nails nervously, Arya wondered what would happen next. "Take off my clothes, sweetheart," he ordered. Fearfully, Arya obeyed. Every time her fingers brushed against him, she felt a strange current run through her body. Somehow, she managed to unbutton his shirt. Leaning close, Rudraksha whispered into her ear, "Scared already, sweetheart? Who will take the next step?" Arya's hands began to tremble, sweat forming on her forehead. She knelt in front of him and started undoing his pants. "Hurry up," Rudraksha said, "or I'll do something else. Seeing you like this is making a part of me restless." Arya's cheeks burned. She shut her eyes, pulled his pants down, then stood up quickly, breathing heavily. She just wanted it all to end. She guided him under the shower, turned it on, and stepped back. Rudraksha suddenly pulled Arya into his arms, and the water from the shower drenched them both. Her sari clung to her, and she quickly tried to step back, her heart racing. He watched her quietly, his gaze intense but unreadable. "Sweetheart," he murmured. Nervously, Arya picked up the soap and began applying it to his back, her fingers trembling. When she moved to stand in front of him, he placed his hands on the wall, leaning closer, his eyes locked onto hers. For a moment, the world felt still. Arya got lost in his gaze, her breath growing uneven, before she looked away, flustered. Suddenly, Rudraksha held her waist and drew her close. His touch was firm but slow, making her pulse race. He leaned in, brushing his lips against hers, a fleeting, teasing contact that made her shiver. "Your lips," he whispered softly. Arya's heartbeat thundered in her ears. The closeness, the warmth, the sound of water around them, it all felt overwhelming. He held her protectively, her forehead resting against hers, before slowly pulling back. "Enough for now," he said quietly. The moment lingered between them, unspoken, charged with emotions neither of them was ready to name. Arya moved away and slid down against the wall, clutching her chest as she struggled to breathe. Her breaths came fast and uneven. Rudraksha watched her for a moment before speaking, his tone calm but sharp. "You really have very little stamina," he said lightly. "At this rate, you will be exhausted too soon." That snapped something in her. Arya looked up, anger flashing in her eyes. "Then let it end," she shot back. "I don't like you, and I don't hate you either, but I hate your touch. I hate your voice." Her words clearly irritated him. Rudraksh sat beside her, his presence overwhelming even without effort. "I might ruin you," he said quietly, "but only after you fill my heart completely." He tilted his head, studying her reaction. "And you said you don't like my touch." His voice dropped. "Your body says something very different." Arya's face burned with a mix of anger and humiliation. "That's not true," she said quickly. "I react because it hurts, because you force things." He caught her hand gently but firmly. "Fine," he said. "Today I won't touch you. You will." The meaning of his words made her freeze. Before she could pull away, his voice hardened just enough to frighten her. "Do as I say, sweetheart, or I won't be this patient." Trembling, Arya obeyed, closing her eyes as instructed. He said nothing more, only resting a hand on her head, slowly running his fingers through her hair until her breathing steadied. Time passed in silence. When Rudraksh finally stepped out of the bathroom, there was an unreadable calm on his face. He sat on the sofa, scrolling through his phone. A while later, Arya emerged, wrapped in a bathrobe that barely reached her thighs. Her movements were stiff, her discomfort obvious as she kept rubbing her arms, trying to ease the ache. Their eyes met. She looked away first. She went to her bag, changed quietly, and returned just as their food arrived. Arya served him automatically and sat down to eat when his voice stopped her. "Your husband is hungry and you're eating first?" he asked coolly. "Is this what you learned?" A painful smile crossed her lips. "Family," she thought bitterly. "You need one to learn these things." Lost in her thoughts, she didn't notice him watching until he spoke again. "Where did you disappear, sweetheart?" In a low voice, she replied, "Please eat." He leaned back. "I'm tired. Feed me." Too drained to argue, Arya did as she asked, silently finishing the meal that way. Later that night, Arya woke briefly and realized she was trapped in his arms. His hold was firm, possessive, as if she might vanish if he loosened it. "When will I be free from this man?" she thought. "He clings to me like a shadow." Tears burned her eyes. "God, only you can save me now." Her body ached, her heart heavier than ever. Yet, despite everything, Rudraksh had crossed no final line that night, and that confused her more than the pain itself. But whatever he had done that morning, Arya could never erase it from her memory. Slowly, she pushed herself to the side of the bed and tried to stand up. At that exact moment, she lost her balance and fell straight onto Rudraksh. Her heart skipped a beat. "Close your eyes, Arya," she scolded herself silently. Gathering courage, she slowly opened her eyes and looked at him. His eyes were closed. A wave of relief washed over her. She tried to move again, but suddenly Rudraksh opened his eyes. Arya gasped and immediately moved back in fear. Before she could escape, Rudraksh wrapped an arm around her waist, pulled her closer, turned her around, and pressed his lips on hers. Arya felt like she was sinking. This man truly had no peace, not even for a second. When he finally let her go, she inhaled sharply, her chest rising and falling rapidly. "It's you," she said breathlessly. "What are you doing?" Rudraksh raised an eyebrow. "That's exactly what you were doing. Sweetheart, a little morning romance." Arya glared at him. "I wasn't doing anything like that." He leaned closer, his gaze intense. "So I looked like a bed to you, but you fell on me and kept staring?" Inside her head, Arya snapped back angrily. "Better than looking at someone like you, I might go blind." But she didn't have the courage to say it out loud. Instead, she released her frustrations silently in her thoughts. "I need to freshen up," Arya said quickly. "Please let me go." Rudraksh smirked. "The thing we left incomplete last night, shouldn't we finish it first?" Her eyes widened in shock. Just as he leaned closer, his phone rang. Annoyed, Rudraksh stepped back and answered the call. Seeing the chance, Arya rushed into the bathroom and locked the door. After some time, he knocked. "Do you plan on settling in there?" he called out. "Come out quickly, sweetheart." Arya's hands trembled. Fear crept back. She didn't want a repeat of last night. She stayed silent until she was sure he wouldn't force his way in. When she finally came out, Rudraksh was already dressed. Saying she was bored, Arya left the room and began wandering around the house. She explored the garden, walked past the swimming pool, and finally sat at its edge, dipping her feet into the water. Lost in thought, she reflected on how her life had changed in the blink. She was married now, bound to a man who neither respected her nor cared for her feelings. Even if she wanted to leave, she couldn't. Her stepmother had sold her fate long ago. Meanwhile, Rudraksh's car stopped outside a famous hotel. The driver opened the door respectfully as Rudraksh stepped out ready to handle business. In the VIP lounge on the top floor, two men were already seated. As soon as Rudraksh entered, both stood up with wide grins. Vihan rubbed his eyes dramatically. "I can't believe it! RS is here. Looks like marriage made you even more handsome, right, Arav?" Arav laughed. "He's right. Even the toughest people change after marriage." They high-fived and laughed loudly. Suddenly, Rudraksh grabbed the gun and fired several shots into the air. Both men screamed and ran around before hiding behind the sofa. When the bullets ran out, Rudraksh calmly sat down like a king. "Come out," he ordered coldly. They slowly emerged and sat in front of him. Arav gulped. "Brother, why are you shooting at us?" Rudraksh smiled faintly. "Because you're the only ones who can tolerate me. But remember, there are other ways to kill, too." Arav sat silent. Bihan quickly changed the topic. "So what are you doing here? You should be with your wife. It's your honeymoon after all. And your wife is very beautiful." Before he could finish, Rudraksh picked up a knife from the fruit basket and slammed it down dangerously close to Bihan's fingers. Bihan screamed and pulled his hand back. Sorry. I won't talk about your wife." Rudraksh nodded. "Good. Now tell me, what happened in the meeting?" Arav turned serious. "Mr. Wilson refused the deal. You'll have to step in." Rudraksh's eyes hardened. "Fix my meeting with him." Vihan immediately called his assistant. Within minutes, the meeting was arranged. Later, Arya arrived at the location Ilana had mentioned. Her eyes widened at the breathtaking view. It was a restaurant surrounded by colorful, flowering plants, built around a massive swimming pool. Tables were arranged in the center, connected by wooden walkways over the water. "The central table is booked for you, ma'am," Ilana said warmly. Arya looked around nervously. Why is everyone staring at me? Ilana smiled. Because you're looking especially beautiful today. Most of the attention in the restaurant was drawn toward Arya. She was wearing a soft pink frock, her hair neatly tied into a bun, looking delicate and out of place, yet impossible to ignore. But she was wearing a delicate tiara, one that Vivi from the Singanya house had carefully packed for her. With it resting on her head, Arya looked no less than an angel who had descended straight from the heavens. Her beauty was impossible to ignore. Young men around her couldn't help but stare, forgetting to look away. Elena and Arya took their seats. Arya lifted the menu card and said softly, "I've never seen a restaurant this beautiful before. It's truly amazing." She scanned the menu but soon felt lost. This was her first time in such an expensive place. Inside, her thoughts raced. What should I order? Everything looks costly. I don't even have that much money. With a nervous smile, she said, I think I forgot my wallet at home. Let's come back some other time. She started to stand up, but Elena stopped her. I'll take care of the bill, ma'am. Please sit, Elena said firmly. Left with no choice, Arya sat back down. Elena ordered food for them, which arrived in a unique way, delivered by drones. Both of them began enjoying the meal. After a while, soft music filled the place. Meanwhile, Arya spoke to Elena, learning that she worked as a butler's daughter in the same household. Within moments, the two bonded and became good friends. Elena asked curiously, Ma'am, you're here on your honeymoon, but you haven't gone out anywhere, and Sir isn't around either. He went out for some important work, Arya replied. Elena's eyes lit up. If you want, I can take you to a beautiful place nearby. It's a bit far, but you'll love it. Arya remembered Rudraksh's warning. No, I don't want to go anywhere. But Elena kept persuading her. Please come, ma'am, you'll really enjoy it. Arya thought to herself, that devil won't return before night anyway. How long will I just sit alone? Finally, she agreed and went to change. When she came out, Elena smiled. Wow, you look stunning. Honestly, I've never seen a girl more beautiful. Being around friends will only add to your glow. Before Arya could protest, Elena dragged her along. Music played loudly as people danced freely. Watching them, Arya slowly forgot her worries and began swaying to the rhythm. For the first time in a long while, her worries faded away. Suddenly, a man approached and asked, Can I dance with you, beautiful? Before Elena could react, Arya accepted his hand. Go ahead, enjoy, Elena said teasingly. Arya and the man began dancing. Others joined in, laughter and joy filling the space. Then Arya felt a sudden grip on her waist. Her heart raced. A harsh voice echoed in her ears. Hi, sweetheart. Arya froze and turned around. Rudraksh stood there. His lips curved in a smile, but his eyes burned red with fury. Elena lowered her head respectfully. Rudraksh grabbed Arya's hand and dragged her away without saying a word. Arya's entire body trembled with fear. Arav and Vihan had come to meet Rudraksh. The moment they saw Arya, they sensed trouble. Dude, your sister-in-law is gorgeous, but how did she end up with a beast like him? Something's definitely wrong, Vihan said. They followed them. Rudraksh shoved Arya into the room he had booked and locked the door. Grabbing her by the throat, he growled, How dare you ignore me? You've grown very bold, going against me? Arya cried loudly, struggling to free herself. He pulled her hair harshly, making her scream. Summoning all her strength, she pushed him away and tried to run. A gunshot rang out. Arya screamed and collapsed to the floor, covering her ears. The bullet missed her and struck the wall instead. Seeing her terrified state, Rudraksh smiled in satisfaction. He walked closer, tugged her hair again, and said mockingly, What happened, sweetheart? Got scared? He crouched near her. Seeing this fear on your face, it gives me a strange kind of peace. Tears streamed down Arya's face. Her scalp burned with pain. Rudraksh wiped her tears with the barrel of the gun and murmured, "Your tears, your frightened face, they make you even more beautiful." His expression hardened. "But I hate your behavior. You made two mistakes today. First, you went out without my permission. Second, you touched a stranger." He grabbed her again. "Every mistake has a punishment." Before Arya could react, he slammed her against the wall. She screamed at the top of her lungs. She struggled to her feet. A thin line of blood had appeared on her forehead. She touched it with trembling fingers, then grabbed hold of him and broke down, crying uncontrollably. Rudraksh pushed her hands away coldly. "You hate me so much," he said calmly, "yet this little mark of blood on your fair face only makes you look more radiant." Arya screamed in despair. "Why don't you just kill me? Why don't you free me from this pain?" Rudraksh smiled, almost peacefully. "Because seeing you like this gives me relief," he replied. "You came into my life on your own, yes, and you'll leave when I get tired of you. But right now, I want to play with you. I'm enjoying myself." He leaned closer. "And for now, I have a surprise for you." Fear tightened Arya's chest. He dragged her into the car, slammed the door shut, and sped off at full force. Arya's eyes widened in terror as the speed increased. She clutched the seat tightly. Suddenly, she noticed a truck approaching from the opposite side. Rudraksh turned the car straight toward it. Arya shut her eyes and screamed, folding her hands. "No, please!" At the very last second, Rudraksh swerved sharply and stopped the car a short distance away. Arya gasped for breath, her body drenched in sweat. Slowly, she lifted her head and realized she was alive. Rudraksh laughed softly. "What happened, sweetheart? Just a moment ago you were talking so bravely about dying, and now you're terrified?" Arya snapped, her voice shaking with rage. "Yes, because of you! You're a psycho!" Rudraksh's fist clenched. His eyes turned red as he slapped her hard. "You're right. I am mad, but you haven't even seen my madness yet." He restarted the car. Soon they reached the house. Rudraksh dragged Arya behind the building. There, she saw Alana and the man she had danced with, both tied up. Her eyes widened in horror. Rudraksh looked at her and smiled. "So, how did you like the surprise, sweetheart?" Arya trembled. "Why did you tie them up? Please, let them go." Grinding his jaw, Rudraksh replied, "Feeling sympathy? I don't like that. That girl took you out without my permission, and this bastard touched you." He grabbed her again. "Every mistake has a punishment." Before Arya could react, he slammed her against the wall. She screamed at the top of her lungs. He picked up a hockey stick lying nearby and struck the man across the face. Arya and Ilana screamed. The man collapsed to the ground, blood pouring from his mouth, his front teeth scattering on the floor. Arya fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. Arav and Vahan had followed them. Both stood frozen, watching the scene in shock. Arav whispered painfully, "How did we forget? This man has no heart. He's a complete devil." Vahan added quietly, "How will that poor girl survive this?" Ilana sobbed, folding her hands. "Please forgive me, sir. I didn't know you didn't like Madam going out. I made a mistake. Please let me go." Arya crawled forward and clutched Rudraksh's feet. "Please let them go. It's not their fault. Punish me instead." Rudraksh lifted her chin. "As you wish, sweetheart." He placed a gun in her hand. "Shoot him." Arya froze in shock. "You have two choices," Rudraksh said softly. "Either kill them quickly or I torture them to death." "I can't," Arya cried. Rudraksh gestured to his men. "Take the girl. Do whatever you want." Arya and Ilana screamed in horror. Ilana begged Arya to save her as the guards dragged her away. "Stop! Arya cried, raising the gun toward the man. Rudraksh whispered near her ear while screams echoed around her. Suddenly, Rudraksh fired a shot himself. Arya flinched violently and dropped the gun. It slipped from her hand like a broken kite falling to the ground. Someone had just been killed because of her. Rudraksh stepped closer, kissed her cheek, and said, "Nice shot, sweetheart." Arya stared at him with pure hatred. "You're not human. You're a monster. Do you even have a heart? No, that's why you killed him. Then why don't you kill me too? You kill me every day." Her voice broke. "You tear me apart like an animal. You laugh after marrying me. You enjoy everything, don't you?" She looked straight into his eyes. "Say no. I dare you." Arya was burning with rage at that shameless man. Her hatred exploded. She slapped Rudraksh hard across the cheek and screamed, "I hate you, Rudraksh Singanya. I hate you." Seeing Rudraksh get slapped, Arav and Vahan froze in shock. Fear crept into their hearts for Arya. Rudraksh's eyes turned red with fury. This was the first time anyone had dared to raise a hand against him. His ego was shattered. The garden fell silent for a moment, an eerie calm before the storm. Rudraksh laughed darkly. "So, now you'll hate me," he said coldly. "Fine, then be ready to face the consequences." Arya's heart pounded. Fear wrapped around her like chains, yet she clenched her fists, trying not to break. "Rudraksh, please don't do anything," Arav pleaded. "Whatever she did was out of panic," Vahan added nervously. "You'll regret acting in anger." Rudraksh turned slowly and looked at them. "Leave," he said quietly. Arav and Vahan glanced at Arya helplessly before walking away, knowing they were powerless. The moment they left, Rudraksh grabbed Arya and dragged her inside the house. She screamed, struggling, but every attempt to escape failed. Inside the room, he shoved her aside. Arya hit the wall, her head striking hard. Darkness swallowed her as she lost consciousness. When Arya awoke, she was coughing. Her body felt heavy. She realized she was tied to a chair. The room was dark, thick with cigarette smoke. "Rudraksh?" she whispered, terrified. The lights suddenly turned on. Arya screamed. A lifeless body hung in front of her. The ticking clock echoed loudly, each second striking her heart like a hammer. Another light revealed a blood-stained dress lying on the floor. She recognized it. "No, Elena!" Arya broke down. "You killed her too! Please let me go!" A slow clap echoed through the room. "You're smarter than I thought, sweetheart," Rudraksh said, sitting calmly on the sofa, a satisfied smile on his face. Arya trembled as fear crawled through her veins. "What do you get by hurting people?" she cried. Rudraksh leaned back, watching her pain with disturbing pleasure. "From today," he said coldly, "you will live with the consequences of defying me." Arya's strength gave out. Her vision blurred, and once again darkness claimed her. Rudraksh sighed softly. "This girl, always fainting," he muttered as he lifted her carefully and laid her down. He glanced at the hand where he had been resting earlier. The skin there was already scorched. Gently, he lowered his lips to that spot and pressed a soft kiss, lingering there for a moment. After that, he brought out the first aid box, cleaned the wound with antiseptic, and dressed it carefully. Once he was done, he lay down beside her. Sometime later, Arya regained consciousness. She found herself lying on a bed. A sharp pain throbbed through her head because of the injury. Her eyes kept opening and closing as she stared blankly at the ceiling. Suddenly, a strange crawling sensation spread across her body. When she looked down in panic, fear seized her completely and a scream tore from her throat. Right above her, rats were moving around. Terrified, she tried to get up, but her body wouldn't respond. Her hands and legs were tied. Her breath caught in her chest as she looked around the room. Her eyes widened in horror. Rats were everywhere. She screamed for help at the top of her lungs. "Help me! Please, someone save me! I'm scared!" The rats crept closer, some moving toward her face. Arya began shaking violently, sobbing uncontrollably. She started shouting Rudraksh's name again and again. Just then, the television switched on. Rudraksh appeared on the screen. His voice echoed through the room. "You called me, sweetheart? Why? You hate me so much, don't you? Then why do you remember me now?" Arya cried desperately. "Please, please forgive me. Let me go. I'm terrified of rats. Please." "I know," Rudraksh replied calmly, then laughed. "That's exactly why I left you with them. But honestly, this doesn't look good on you at all. You seem more frightened of these tiny creatures than me. You've disappointed me." "Please, don't do this," Arya begged, her voice breaking. "For God's sake, let me go." His tone turned colder. "I don't like this side of you. You never think about me. This is your punishment so that you never dare to repeat your mistake. Be thankful. You raised your hand against me, and yet your hands are still attached to your body." He continued mockingly. "Since you seem to like these rats so much, stay with them." "No, please don't," Arya sobbed. "I'll do whatever you say. I'll agree to everything. Just don't leave me here." "Fine," Rudraksh said. "But for that, you'll need to sign something." "I'm ready," Arya replied immediately. As soon as she spoke, two masked men entered the room. They were completely covered. One of them held some papers. They cleared the rats away, untied Arya's hands, and placed the document in front of her. As Arya read the conditions, her heart began to race. The first condition stated that she could never leave Rudraksh. The second demanded absolute obedience to his every word and complete respect for him. She was forbidden from raising her voice or arguing. Any disobedience would result in 2 days locked in a room filled with rats and lizards. Just imagining it made her shiver. The third condition gave Rudraksh full control over what she wore, ate, where she stayed, and where she slept. She had no right to oppose his decisions. The fourth stated that, apart from Rudraksh, she was not allowed to talk to or even look at any other man. Any friendship she had must only be with women. The fifth condition made her heart stop. Rudraksh could claim physical closeness whenever he wished, and she would never refuse. Arya's mind spiraled into chaos. She wanted to scream no, to refuse, but no one would listen. If she didn't sign, she would be left alone with hundreds of rats. With trembling hands and tears streaming down her face, she signed the paper. Inside, anger and helplessness burned together. "This madman, I don't know what he wants from me," she thought. "But even after signing, I won't give up. The moment I get a chance, I'll run away. I can't survive even a day with this psycho." When the men took the papers and prepared to leave, Arya pleaded, "Please untie my legs." "The keys are with the boss, ma'am," one of them replied before leaving. After a while, Rudraksh entered the room. Arya's face had gone pale, and there were visible injuries on her forehead, hands, and legs, marks he himself had caused. He untied her and said coldly, "Remember this punishment the next time you think of going against me. What I'll do next time, you can't even imagine. Now go to your room." Arya tried to stand, but pain shot through her body. Somehow, she managed to get up and staggered back to her room. Once inside, she stood under the shower and cried uncontrollably. After some time, she turned off the water and faced the mirror. Her body bore marks of rat bites and bruises. "How long will I have to endure this?" she wondered silently. Just then, the bathroom door opened. Rudraksh walked in. Arya froze in fear, hurriedly covering herself with her hands. She was wearing nothing but undergarments. Rudraksh looked at her calmly and said, "I've already seen everything, sweetheart." There was no need to hide anything from him. Rudraksh stood very close to Arya, his presence suffocating. "Remove your hands, sweetheart," he said softly, but the tone carried a warning. Arya nodded weakly. The atmosphere around them felt unbearably warm. Rudraksh remembered the fifth condition written on that paper. As she removed her hand, he leaned closer, closing his eyes tightly. She took it. Her sudden scream echoed through the bathroom, vibrating inside him. Rudraksh stood there, unshaken. "I can't tolerate this much jealousy, sweetheart," he said coldly. "You talk big about your heart. Next time, remember your punishment before you forget your limits." Arya lowered her head. She didn't want to see the hatred in his eyes again, but nothing could ever be hidden from Rudraksh. He lifted her chin, forcing her to look at him. His grip tightened as he spoke directly into her eyes. "Hey, sweetheart, I've met many people in my life, but you are the strongest of them all. Anyone else would have broken by now. I don't see fear in your eyes. I see anger." Arya said nothing. Rudraksh looked at her for a moment longer, then walked out. She quickly put on her clothes and whispered to herself, "Who could be worse than a monster like you?" Rudraksh Singhania was not afraid of death, but living like this, slowly dying every day, was worse. That night, Arya lay on the bed and closed her eyes. Faces haunted her, Elena covered in blood, 2 innocent lives lost because of him. Her thoughts spiraled until she felt herself breaking. Later that night, Rudraksh entered the club with a glass of wine. Arav and Vihan sat beside him, staring. "If you both keep staring for 5 more seconds," Rudraksh said casually, "I'll pluck your eyes out." They immediately looked away. "Brother, you're married now. Your anger needs control. What you did to your wife today was wrong."
Vihan added, "She's human, not an object. She's innocent." Before he could finish, Rudraksh threw the wine glass across the room. "She's mine," he snapped. "Don't even look at her." The club went silent. That night, when Rudraksh returned home, Arya was asleep. He lay beside her without a word. The next morning, Arya woke up in his arms. His grip was tight, as if afraid she would disappear. She tried to move. "Don't even try, sweetheart," his voice murmured. "Forgot the 5th rule?" Fear flashed in her eyes. I was just going to the bathroom," she said. "Really?" She nodded. Rudraksh loosened his hold. Arya rushed to the bathroom, breathing heavily. After freshening up, she sat before the mirror, applying moisturizer. Rudraksh lay on the bed, watching her reflection from the side. "Damn, so hot," he muttered. He stood behind her. Arya stiffened when she saw him in the mirror. Her eyes accidentally traced his bare, muscular body. His hair was messy, his presence dangerously attractive. She knew it, the most handsome man she'd ever seen, hiding the soul of a monster. Suddenly, Rudraksh bit her ear hard. She gasped. "If you keep looking at me like that," he whispered, "I won't be able to control myself. Planning to cast an evil eye on my body, sweetheart?" "I wasn't staring," Arya said quickly. "Really?" She nodded. Rudraksh leaned down to her level, his cold gaze locking onto hers. He placed his thumb on her lips. "Your lips are so soft, so delicious." He pressed his thumb harder and kissed her lips slowly. Arya let out a shaky sigh. It slipped out, her strawberry-colored lips now completely reddened. The sight made Rudraksh's throat go dry. Grabbing her hand, he pulled her closer and pressed his lips over hers, kissing her with fierce intensity. His hands roamed over Arya's body as if claiming it. Arya stood frozen, neither responding nor pushing him away. Rudraksh bit down hard on her lips, making them bleed. Then he sucked at the wounded spot, while Arya winced in pain. Leaving her lips, he buried his face in her hair, breathing deeply near her ear and sending shivers through her body. "Your scent," he murmured, while running his fingers through her hair. "What perfume do you use, sweetheart? It's intoxicating." "I don't use any perfume," Arya said. "This is natural."
Without replying, Rudraksh continued stroking her hair, his hands still moving over her body. Suddenly, he paused and said softly, "Get ready to say my name." Arya lifted her eyes to him. Before she could react, her delicate lips were once again trapped by his. The marks from last night hadn't even faded yet, and he was already leaving new ones. He moved lower, pressing kisses to her bare stomach. Arya shut her eyes tightly and gripped the table for support. Rudraksh's lips trailed down her neck as he bared his teeth and sank them into her cleavage. Arya screamed in pain. He immediately kissed the bitten spot, his hands circling her waist possessively. Just then, Rudraksh's phone rang. Seizing the moment, Arya pushed him away, but that only angered him. He twisted her arm behind her back, making her cry out in pain. "You seem to enjoy punishment," he said coldly, "so do exactly what pleases me." "No, it's not like that," Arya pleaded. "Your phone was ringing, that's why I pushed you." He stared at her for a few seconds, then picked up the call and walked out onto the balcony. Arya sighed of relief, rubbing her aching arm and fixing her appearance. She was starving, but she couldn't step out without his permission. Sitting down, she clutched her stomach. Nearly an hour later, Rudraksh returned, ready to leave. "Let's go for breakfast," Arya said weakly. "No," he replied flatly. "You've stayed hungry all day. You'll stay that way." She looked at him in disbelief. He lifted her chin and said, "This is your punishment. Don't push me again." "Please, I'm really hungry," she whispered. "Go to the balcony, get some air, and before you step out again, remember yesterday." With that, Rudraksh left for his office. Arya felt dizzy with hunger and weakness. She sat holding her stomach, too afraid to leave the room. Drinking water again and again, she finally lay down on the bed and soon fell asleep. But even there, she wasn't safe. In her sleep, she saw a man standing before her in the mirror. She turned back screaming, only to be struck on the head with a decorative object. Blood began to flow as she collapsed beside the bed, her already injured forehead throbbing in agony. Crying, she tried to stop the bleeding. "Who are you? Please let me go." She ran toward the door, screaming for help, but the man shoved her back. "Scream all you want," he said cruelly. "No one will hear you, and if anything leaves this room, it'll be your dead body." Arya backed against the wall, raising her trembling hands. "Please, who are you? Why do you want to kill me? What did I do to you?" The man removed his mask. Arya froze in shock. It was Cutler, the same man who used to come to her house before. She slapped him hard, making his head turn as a sharp ringing filled his ears. Grinding his teeth, he said, "You took my daughter away from me, and you ask what went wrong? Because of you and RS, my daughter is dead. I lost her, and now you'll pay for it. Just like I suffer, you will too. Only then will my daughter's soul find peace." "Uncle, you're mistaken," Arya cried. "It doesn't matter to me whether I live or die. I was forced into this life." Cutler laughed bitterly. "Do you think I'm a fool, that I'll believe you?" He fired the gun. Arya screamed. Cutler burst into mad laughter. Gasping, Arya slowly opened her eyes. She was unharmed. The bullet had struck the wall. Turning her head, she froze again. Cutler stood inches from her face, the gun pointed straight at her. "I love seeing fear on your face," he said softly. It felt as though, sooner or later, she would face the same terror again. The husband stood in front of RS, gun aimed at his face. To avenge his daughter's death, he had killed his own wife. Now, placing the gun against his own forehead, he said coldly, "Get ready to die. This time, I won't miss." Before anyone could react, a bullet was fired. Arya was shot. Her eyes slowly closed, her head tilted to one side, and her body collapsed. Blood rolled down and splashed across the wall, staining the room red. The splatter was everywhere. Then, silence. A terrifying, suffocating silence. Suddenly, the sound of screeching shoes echoed through the room. Rudraksh entered, followed by Arav and Vihan. "What should we do with this now?" Rudraksh asked calmly. The same thing we do with the rest of the corpses, Vihan replied. At his signal, the guards stepped inside. The next morning, Arya lay motionless on the bed, like a corpse. Then her eyes snapped open. A blood-covered face appeared in front of her. Cutler. Terrified, she tried to move back, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Then she realized she was standing at the edge of a ditch. From behind Cutler, Elena stepped forward, her face bleeding. "All this happened because of you, Arya," Elena hissed. "Now you'll die too, just like us." She pushed Arya. "No!" As Arya fell into the ditch, she looked up and screamed. Her eyes flew open again. She was on her bed. Her face and sheets were soaked with sweat. Gasping for breath, she slowly looked around in panic. With trembling hands, she picked up the glass of water beside her and drank, but her hands shook so badly that water spilled everywhere. She pulled at her hair, shut her eyes tightly, and memories flooded back. Yesterday, Cutler had been about to shoot her when a bullet hit him from behind. His face had collapsed against Arya's neck before his body fell. Blood splattered across the wall. Rudraksh Singania and the others had been there. All of them. Arya had fainted in shock. Cutler was dead too. Oh God, how many innocent people have died because of me? Just then, the door opened. Rudraksh walked in. "You're awake," he said softly. "Good morning, sweetheart." Arya glared at him. "What's so good about this morning because of you? Another innocent person lost their life, Rudraksh." In a second, his hand wrapped around her neck. "I seem to have forgotten who you're talking to, dare you. How many times have I told you not to raise your voice in front of me? Do you want to be punished again?" Arya silenced instantly. "That's better, my good girl. I didn't kill anyone. You did. If you had listened to me and not gone with that girl, she'd be alive. Cutler, too. I'm not responsible for those deaths. You are." He screamed like a madman.
"It's not me," Arya cried. "You killed them. Don't you remember how that man screamed when you shot him?" She covered her ears, sobbing, as the screams of Elena and the club echoed in her mind. Rudraksh watched her and smiled. He hadn't tortured her physically. He had broken her mentally. Slowly, he pulled her hands away from her ears. Arya collapsed into his arms, crying uncontrollably. He placed a hand on her shoulder. This was exactly what he wanted, to be her only refuge. When her sobs finally subsided, he pushed her back slightly and wiped her tears with his thumb, rubbing harshly until her fair cheeks turned red. "Don't cry for anyone else, sweetheart," he said. "I don't like it." Looking deep into her eyes, he continued, "Tears, anger, pain, everything in you should exist only because of me." Arya shook her head weakly. "Now go freshen up," Rudraksh said calmly, "and cook for me. Today I want food made by my sweetheart." Arya obeyed. Later, she served him breakfast. As she stood beside the table, Rudraksh pulled her onto his lap. She stiffened. The servants were watching. Her eyes dropped in embarrassment. He pinched her waist. "When I'm here, why are you paying attention to others?" he asked. "Now feed me, with your hands." Her hands trembled as she obeyed. When she did, Rudraksh bit her finger. A sob escaped her lips. And the cycle continued. If it is there, then it becomes uncomfortable. The dress It was very beautiful, but it had no Rudraksha beads. The wounds inflicted were clearly visible. She comes out so the makeup artist would be surprised to see her. She goes. A girl speaks, "You look so gorgeous, madam. You need makeup." "There is no need for it. You are so naturally beautiful." Then the makeup artist's notice falls on the wounds on her body, seeing whom she trembles and everything becomes clear. But she couldn't help her because it would mess with RSS. He did not have the courage to take it. Both makeup artists start doing her makeup. Arya used makeup on Arya's body made the marks were also hidden. In a while, Arya was completely ready. Both girls go outside.
Rudraksh comes inside, which Arya would stand up from her place as soon as she saw him. Rudraksh looked at her thin, long legs. It stops on Arya's thigh. Arya wore a black, one-shoulder-long gown, in which her entire stomach was visible. The dress had a long cut at the bottom, which used to stop on Arya's thigh. One of her legs was clearly visible. Silver high heels worn on her feet made her even hotter and sexier. She was making it. Just by looking at him, Rudraksh gets an idea. Many eyes were on her beautiful, sweet heart, who she is absolutely not going to be able to tolerate. Thinking of this, his eyes become cold. He hugged Arya tightly, holding his shoulder, and says, "Whom did you wear this dress to seduce?" Arya groans in pain and says, "You gave me this dress." Rudraksh leaves her. "Sorry, sweetheart, you look so beautiful that I forget everything." Hearing this, Arya felt like abusing him thousands of times. Just then, Rudraksh unravels her hair in a bun, and burying his face in her hair, "Your scent always drives me crazy," she makes it. "Sweetheart, remember all the rules well. There is no need to look at any man either. If this happens, I will gouge out your eyes." Arya trembles after hearing this, but trembling, she says, "I will not see it, but if someone else saw me, I would—" The words remain in his mouth, because Rudraksh was looking at him in a scary way, staring at him. He came close to her ears and speaks in a low but dangerous voice. "If this happens, it will happen before your eyes. Cut him into pieces and feed them to the crows." Arya's hair stood on end after hearing this. Arya thinks to herself, "Whatever may happen, today again someone is hurting because of me. No one will die because in this dress I will definitely attract everyone's attention. Oh God, help me. Now I don't want to be the cause of some death." Rudraksh bites his ears and says, "In whose thoughts is the sweetheart lost?" Arya, "Otherwise, let Rudraksh meditate upon him. It was on the lipstick-stained lips that he considered his Rudraksh was attracting towards him. Let me remind you one more time before I leave that I have the sole right over your body." Saying this, he presses her lips with his lips. It captures it and takes him back and puts it against the wall. "Ah," from Arya goes out. That Rudraksh kiss himself stays here. Arya tightens her dress. She catches it. Then Rudraksh, placed on his hands, hold his head in both his hands, puts it on top. Rudraksh, to her lips, bites while sucking, and then retreats. Arya, with her hand on her chest, starts taking deep breaths. Her lipstick and hair were messed, but this messy Arya looks even hotter. Rudraksh, fixing her hair, "I feel like doing a lot of things, sweetheart, but also have to go. No one, after all, will do this." She wipes it with tissue paper. He wipes off her lipstick and leaves, holding her hand. He goes. Both get into the car and the driver turns on the partition. Rudraksh makes her sit on his lap and starts kissing her neck. Thanks for watching this. See you in next part. Love you guys, and please like this video and subscribe.